It's time to welcome the Wine Ladies with Georgia and Suzanne. An entertaining hour topped up with great ideas about wine, where to dine, anything and everything to do with the vine. Great conversation, lots of laughter, guests from all walks of life, food and wine, music, art, sports, and much more, all on the Wine Ladies.
Hi everybody, it's us, the Wine Ladies.
I'm Georgia.
And I'm Suzanne, and welcome to the Wine Ladies, one sip at a time. Thanks for joining us here this afternoon.
It's great to have you all back with us once again. Now, Suzanne and I are very excited about today's show because we're going to be taking you in a little bit of a different direction today, sort of outside the proverbial box of wine, I guess. We're going to delve into two very different lifestyle products today, one of which is Scotch whiskey.
And actually, women are beginning to enjoy Scotch whiskey a lot. The trend has really been going up and up with that. As well as Scotch is something that has been now paired with food more and more. In fact, last week we were thrilled to be invited to the Scotch tasting and the introduction of Thor Scotch whiskey from Highland Park at the Colburn Lane restaurant. It was a phenomenal evening. We had a fantastic time, and at our table there were three handsome young men that were part of scotchblog.ca, and we actually convinced one of them to join us here this afternoon. A little later on in the show, we're going to be welcoming Sean Kirby from scotchblog.ca, who will tell us all about Scotch whiskey.
Now that's going to be great. But before we do that, like I mentioned, we're going to venture into yet another lifestyle product. Now this product is steeped in history, although I don't know if steeped actually is the right term to
although
use
it is a kind of leaf.
That's true. That's true. It is. So, and that topic is the Cuban cigar. So we're going to learn all about the history, the culture, the allure of the cigar, and we're actually going to try our hand at rolling the cigars ourselves. So I'd like to welcome now Chris Miller. Chris is the owner of Frank Carenti Cigars Limited, and your family has been in this business for 4 generations. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Wow.
1900 we originated.
Fantastic.
From Copenhagen, Denmark.
Denmark?
Who thinks of Denmark when you think of Cuban cigars?
How did that happen?
My great-grandfather was head of the Cigar Makers Union. One of the earliest records I have at our business is his union ledger from 1915.
Wow.
So
in Copenhagen?
In Copenhagen. Copenhagen, I think they still have one of the oldest cigar factories in Europe called E-Noble.
E-Noble.
Yeah, and they're still around today, over 100 years.
Wow. So was Denmark known as one of the countries that way that had cigar manufacturing, or did every country sort of do a little bit of it?
I think it was widespread everywhere at the time, especially North America. North America, Boston alone had about 4,000 cigar makers in 1900.
Wow.
Yeah,
really?
New York City probably had 45.
And it's dying, you were saying, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's times have changed. Cigars kind of got left behind. A lot of people, you know, if you look at old antique shops, you'll always see cigar signs or cigar boxes and stuff like that.
And always in the movies, the gentlemen would always retire to the drawing room for their cognac and cigars, while the ladies did their needlepoint.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, and
I'm glad that wasn't my time, that's for sure.
That's right, yeah.
Actually, I actually have a purse. Remember, I have like a beautiful purse, and it is in the shape of a cigar box.
Oh, that's
and it
true.
has a cigar on it, and I've had it for about 10, 12 years, and I only pull it out at certain times, and every time I do, actually, everybody always comments, what a fabulous purse.
Yes, it's unique. There's so many different cigar companies that had so many different cigar boxes made. All right, so actually Toronto had one of the oldest, I can't remember what they're called, euthographers? Something that made all the designs for the boxes.
Oh, okay.
I remember a couple of years back when my son was about 10 or 11 years old, we went to Cuba on a holiday, and of course I was trying to be cool, and I remember I don't smoke, but of course I had to try an authentic Cuban cigar, one of those large ones like you have here, and it took hours to smoke.
Of course, yeah. Well, the process of cigar making, is very. The longer the filler, the cooler the draw, the slower it burns.
Wow, I like that. We're going to quote you on that one.
What makes a good cigar, actually? What are some of the variables that contribute to that?
Cigars should be 100% natural and handmade. That's the first choice. Long fillers, which are full leaves inside the cigar.
Oh, okay.
Make it, like I said, burn cool and slow. fermentation of the leaf. There's nothing added to it but water. So it's just the different ages that the leaves have been sitting for.
Okay.
Right. So a very young leaf is very oily, higher in nicotine, right? And it smells very earthy, as opposed to an older leaf. It's much more mellow.
So is that more desirable? The older
Yeah, it's
leaf
like wine.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
It ages like wine. Nice.
Like a nice woman, too.
Exactly. Well, you got it.
Now, what about the tobacco plant? How long does it take to grow from start to finish? And does it keep coming back, or do you have to replant it? Or
it's a season thing, right? My dad and my brother go down and they're there. They know more about that end than me, right? I know how to blend a cigar and make a cigar and prepare the leaves, but the actual plantation, like the growing stages, I'm not too keen on.
I know. I understand there's only a few privileged individuals that get to actually go to Cuba and select the bales of leaf that they want to import for their cigars, and your family is one of those few.
Yeah, we've done that for many years. Yeah, some of our tobacco is 30 years old, aged 30 years, because we age it here for a long time.
So show us how you make a cigar.
Sure.
Take us through the process.
Yeah, I'm just going to be putting the finishing wrapper on. These are bunches. These were pre-made in the factory before I came.
Okay.
This looks very old, this piece of wood here.
Yeah, it's mold's been around, actually, I think they were invented in North America, right? And 1860s. It was patented for the
this is
first
about
time.
100 years old?
Wow.
This one, not specifically. The oldest one we have in our factory is well over 100 years. All right. So, but this one's probably about the 50s, I'd say.
So
they made
nothing's
a plastic
changed.
now.
You were saying, like you were saying, the way they used to make a cigar is still the way they make a good cigar.
Exactly. Yeah. Nothing. It was perfected 200 years ago. There's no need to change it, right?
So this is a tobacco leaf here?
Yes. This is a full leaf. All right. This is about 8-year-old Cuban leaf.
Okay.
So it's
8
a
years
wrap.
It looks like leather.
Yeah, it actually feels like leather. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. Let's see.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You can see the leaf. You can see the stem.
Yeah, the stem. All
stem
leaves have to be destemmed. Right?
Okay.
So we take the leaves
stem out.
Okay. Now, are a lot of these cigars that are being made now not being handmade? They're being machine made. I guess it's obviously much cheaper.
Well, yeah. A lot of cigars now are machine made or paper made, paper pressed, flavored. You know what I mean? They're not really cigars. Right.
So now you're stretching the leaf.
Yep. Actually, Cuba, they train about 8 months to a year to learn how to make a cigar.
To be a cigar roller.
Yep. And it is a profession, right? It's something you keep forever.
Yes.
So, like, my grandfather taught a few cigar rollers in our factory 30 years ago. They're still here today.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Now, can people, do you ship your cigars all over the world, or how do people get the cigars from you guys?
Well, we're pretty exclusive, so we don't sell to stores or anything. You have to kind of come and find us.
Okay.
But I understand there's a lot of celebrities that enjoy your cigars as well.
Yeah, well, we do a lot for movies because we're custom makers, right? So we made cigars for Brad Pitt, Will Smith. Brad Pitt wanted 20% nicotine-free herbs in his cigar for the assassination of Jesse James. So, yeah, and that was, I think that was 2007. Yeah.
So when you said you do the blending of, so is there different kinds of leaves that go in? Is that what you mean when you say you do the blend?
Well, the leaves, their flavors come from where they are on the tobacco plant, how long they've been aged for, how thick the leaf is, right? So there's 3 types of long filler that we use: Seco, Ligero, and Velado. And those are just different strengths filler.
I see.
But they're full leaves, just like that, right?
Okay.
So
it's like when somebody's blending a great Bordeaux. How much Merlot? How much Cab Franc? How much Cab Sauv?
Now, if you have cigars that are dipped in wine or rum, or is it the leaves that are fermented in that, or how does it work? Like where's the process?
If you purchase a store-bought flavored cigar?
If you wanted to do something with a flavor, how would you do that? Where would that be incorporated into the cigar making process?
We've never made cigars with any flavors.
Oh, you don't do that?
No.
Okay.
But I think they soak the leaves in it.
Oh, I see.
Right? Like in sugars and stuff like that, yeah.
Is that's just water you're using to?
Yeah, this is like a water-based resin. It's been used for cigars for 200 years.
Oh.
So it's organic.
Okay. So how long does it take to typically make a cigar, and what kind of cigar is this? I know they have mistos and fatsos, or actually maybe it's not called a fatso. Different kinds of names for the cigars.
Yeah, this cigar is a Robusto.
Robusto?
Robusto.
Robusto.
Yeah.
Robusto, okay.
It's pretty popular now.
Okay.
So, the Partagas Series D, I think, was rated the #1 cigar, and it's equivalent to that. Same size.
And how much does one of those cigars sell for?
In our factory, we sell these at wholesale for $11.50 a piece, and it burns for probably about 45 minutes.
That's not expensive.
Okay.
Yeah, factory price. Yeah. Retail at probably about $20. If you were to sell it retail. But like I said, we're custom, right?
And it's 4 hours about, you say, that you can smoke the cigar? Is that what you said?
It's about 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
45 minutes to an hour, yeah.
Oh,
I've got to hold one of those. Just
yeah, sure.
Is there a special way to hold the cigar?
Yeah, how do you hold them properly?
You can hold it any way you like, but a cigar's not like a cigarette, so you don't take pulls, right?
Okay.
You keep it. You flavor the smoke and the tobacco.
Oh.
So if you ever see like old movies and stuff, they always have the cigar in their mouth.
Yes.
Yeah, they just leave it there.
Exactly.
It's like, don't you want to take a break?
That's what, yeah.
It's not.
That smells quite good.
Does it? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's 100% organic. Nothing added to that but water.
I always actually, you know what? I can't stand the smell of cigarettes, but sometimes when you're you walk into a room and you see the folks
cigar?
like smoking the cigars. I don't know. There's something kind of. This smells kind of good and kind of sexy, I think. In a way. I don't know. Like isn't that sort of part of the whole thing about cigars? I mean, they kind of like rugged and kind of sexy, and
Yeah, you know what? Right, recently, like very, very much so. You see it around everywhere. All the big shots have a cigar in their mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. Now, what about pairing that with a glass of Scotch? We've actually brought here today Canadian Club Dock number 57. And this is about 150 years old, this company. And this is a new product, and it's a spiced whiskey, and it's named after apparently Dock 57, which was during Prohibition, where all the illegal whiskey was shipped out of into the States. So
you're not telling any tales that they don't already know. You're not going to get anybody in trouble there.
No, it was in the press kit. So
okay, good. We're all safe. It's all good.
So why don't we toast cigar making?
Sure. Sure.
And would this be a good sample to go? Like whiskeys are often enjoyed with cigars, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
It's acquired taste.
It is. Actually, that's pretty good, I have to say. I'm not like a real whiskey gal, but I don't know. I guess it's got that nice sweetness, a little bit of the caramel in there, and
you really
the cinnamon kind of, and a bit of the oak. It tastes good. Yeah,
it's nice, and it's a unique name too. I like that the
Dock
Prohibition,
57?
where they smuggled all the booze. Awesome. Yeah.
But you were saying you prefer a glass of wine when you smoke a cigar.
That's my personal preference, though. Yeah, but cognac, I'd say, is probably the #1 drink to have with cigars. Yeah.
Now you guys I think you guys are the only ones that actually make in Canada handmade cigars, or is that true?
We're the only ones that manufacture handmade Cuban cigars in North America. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, in North America.
Yeah. So,
okay.
There is one other cigar manufacturer in Toronto, but I think they're machine-made cigars.
And people hire you guys like to come in and do cigar rolling demonstrations and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so we're all over the city doing private functions for brides and grooms, stags, corporate parties, golf tournaments, stuff like that.
So if someone wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
They could call us at our factory, talk to our event coordinator, Lillian, at 416-504-4108.
Okay. So is there anything else you'd like to tell our viewers about cigars, or?
You know what? I think I pretty much told all there is to tell.
Okay.
All right. They have to come into the factory and talk to me personally if they want to know anything more, right?
Okay. Awesome.
So.
Well, thanks for coming in there, Chris.
My pleasure.
That was very interesting. Maybe after the show, I'll try my hand at rolling a cigar.
Yeah.
I mean, how long does it take to learn how to do it properly? I know I'm a quick study, but I'm not that good. No.
Yeah, I think probably about. You get it going in after a few months, but to be considered a professional cigar smoker, it takes about 6 months to a year.
And I wouldn't want to waste all that like really prized raw material that you guys bring in over here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Toast.
Toast again. All right.
To Scotch, which is coming up next.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, well, we're now back for the second half of the show, and as promised, we're going to be switching gears a little bit here. And now we're going to be talking about Scotch. We've got Sean Kirby from scotchblog.ca who's going to be joining us now, and he's brought some fantastic Scotch with him, and we're looking forward to learning how to taste this fabulous beverage properly from you.
Thank you very much for having me. Looking forward to sharing some whiskey and some whiskey knowledge with you.
No, that's great. And when we first met you, and you were saying like, okay, I'm with scotchblog.ca, and there's like 7 of you guys that write for that, and I said, wow, like, are there that many people that are like really enthralled with Scotch? It's really growing in popularity?
It is. I mean, interest in Scotch is exploding these days, and it's no longer just old men who enjoy Scotch. It's for
fabulous
everybody.
Women too.
Women, people of all ages. People are discovering how interesting, how fascinating, how delicious Scotch can be. They're learning about the different styles and discovering what they like, and yeah, it's becoming a huge growth in.
So how come Scotch and not Irish whiskey or not Canadian whiskey? Why Scotch?
I think because it's with Scotch that you have the most variety of styles, of flavors, of techniques for making it. It's very much like wine in that way, in that you have different varieties of malt that go into the whiskey, different techniques for aging it, different types of barrels. So at the end you have a huge range of different styles of whiskey that you can compare and contrast and enjoy.
Okay, so there's like 5 categories of Scotch or something, is that right? Is that how it works?
Well, there's 7 regions of Scotch. In Scotland, there are 7 regions where Scotch is made. You have Highland and Lowland, Speyside, Islay, and it goes on from there. And each region has distinctive styles, distinctive characteristics in the whiskey. For instance, an Islay Scotch, it tends to be very salty, very peaty, very bold flavor. A Speyside whiskey tends to be a little bit more subtle, more fruity, a little more floral. And so I think people really enjoy comparing and discovering what style of whiskey suits them.
How many producers are there in Scotland approximately?
Oh, there are literally hundreds of distilleries all over Scotland. Ironically, the Speyside region is one of the smallest regions, but it has the most distilleries in it. Whereas the Highland region, which is another one we're going to try out here today, is the largest, geographically the largest, but doesn't have as many distilleries in it.
Okay. And is all Scotch whiskey, but not all whiskey Scotch? Is that how it works, or that's not true either?
Yes. So Scotch whiskey is basically whiskey from Scotland. That's
well, that's
the basic,
easy to remember.
Simple, right? Now, by law and tradition, there are certain rules that have to be observed in making Scotch whiskey. It has to be made, for instance, if it's a single malt whiskey, which is what we're going to be trying here, it has to be made from a single type of malted barley. It also has to be aged in a cask for at least 3 years to be called Scotch. These are rules that have been put in place in Scotland to ensure the quality of the product that it represents around the world, that people associate Scotch with the best whiskey in the world.
Okay, so other whiskeys, like an Irish whiskey, doesn't necessarily have to be aged for 3 years, or maybe it has different rules, I guess.
It may. I'm not sure, but certainly each country has certain rules that they keep in place to make sure that the quality of the product is there. Just like with other culturally associated products like wine and cheeses and things. If it comes from a place and it bears the name, it has to be up to the standards of quality. Not to say that whiskeys from other parts of the world are not good. Irish whiskey, American whiskey,
they're all good in
delicious.
Their different ways.
And there's even a lot of very interesting whiskeys being produced in Japan, and recently India has come out with some single malt whiskeys that are very nice.
Now, how did you get interested in Scotch?
I just kind of stumbled upon it. I would say
like all good things in life.
It started out as just a way for me and a few friends to relax after a workday. We would get together and we would have a nice single malt whiskey. After trying a few different whiskeys, we realized there's a whole world here to discover.
Are these the other bloggers?
These are the other bloggers, yes. So before we were blogging together, we were drinking and discovering Scotch, and soon enough we we tried so many whiskeys and we gained such an interest that we thought we should share our passion with other people, and we started our blog.
I like your blog, actually. It's lots of fun.
successful.
There's lots of good information on there.
Yeah,
you have like the latest releases also that are coming out in the LCBO, and
yeah, we
right?
try to keep people up to date on the latest whiskeys that are coming out, and particularly people in the Toronto area and people in Ontario who shop through the LCBO, and we try to target a local audience and keep them apprised of what's available, where the best values are, new things that people should try.
Now, what did you think of that dinner last Thursday night with Highland Park Thor? Wasn't that incredible?
It was fantastic. I thought the pairing of the whiskey and the food was inspired. The chef did an amazing job of choosing flavors and textures that really made the best of the whiskey.
And he also infused, right? He did a couple, remember he did a couple that were just paired with whiskey?
He did.
And then there were a couple of courses that were infused with the whiskey as well, and then paired with the same whiskey.
And this is becoming a growing trend in cooking to use whiskey in cooking different meats and sauces, giving that flavors of whiskey that can only really be found in a good Scotch and putting them into the food.
Right.
You should have seen us all. We were wearing these Viking helmets and swords and original swords too.
Yes.
They were.
Yikes. Okay, let's find out. Like, I know that you've got this whole great thing on the website, like, or on your blog, about how there's so many different steps, like how to nose it, how to swirl it, all these great things to get the most out of your glass. Yeah. So where do we start?
Let's get started.
Which one are we going to start with?
First of all, we're going to dive into the Highland Park 12. This is the youngest expression from Highland Park. So it's a good Scotch to try before you want to maybe commit to buying a 15 or an 18-year-old bottle. The 12-year-old Highland Park is an excellent whiskey, and it's a great example of the Highland style. So let's give it a try.
Okay. So, and what were you saying, like, for this region, for the Highlands, like what characterizes those typically?
Highland whiskeys tend to be fairly bold, with a strong smoky flavor, as well. Typically, they are peated whiskey as well, so you get that peaty flavor in them. Not perhaps as bold and aggressive as an Islay Scotch, which has that strong, salty kind of sea air type aroma to it. More floral than those. But smoky, peaty, those are the kinds of characteristics you find in a Highland Scotch.
How would you say, okay, peaty? Like, do you know, when I think of peaty, I don't really know, like mossy.
Like
earthy, you know?
Earthy, like from the ground kind of.
Like peat moss. Like, you know, when you're gardening. Is that what you mean?
Exactly.
I never garden, so that's why I wouldn't know that.
Something I know over you. Amazing.
When we talk about a peated whiskey, what that means is that once the barley has been malted, they take the barley and it has to be dried. Now, there's different ways to do that. To make a peated whiskey, you take that barley and you burn peat that you've cut out of the ground, big blocks of vegetable matter from the ground. That's what the peat is. And you burn that, and the smoke from the peat dries the barley and infuses it with that peat flavor. So this is something that some whiskeys do and some do not. And so some people prefer a peated whiskey.
And this is a characteristic of the Highland area.
This is something that's done in many areas, but it's very common, very characteristic of a Highland Scotch to be peated, yes.
Okay.
So
and these are special glasses?
Fill a couple of glasses. These are called a Glencairn glass or a tulip glass because of the shape. The bulb shape of the glass contains all the aroma of the whiskey, so as you drink and as it kind of swirls around, the aromas stay there, and then because it's got this shape on the rim, it allows you to deliver the Scotch right to the tip of your tongue, so you can taste it from each part of the mouth.
Very much like wine.
Yeah.
Very much so, So pour a little dram for each of us here.
All right.
Yeah, just a wee bit.
Whoa, that's a lot.
We can share that one. Don't want to waste it. Okay, that's good.
Don't be such a chicken. Who's driving? Oh, you're driving. That's right.
Not for a while, but still.
So is that like a standard pour? Like when somebody's drinking it neat, do you usually give about like an ounce and a half, or is there sort of
You can vary it. I mean, you probably don't want to go any more than an ounce and a half at a time. I mean, this is a strong whiskey, but
right.
So the glass will allow you to see the color. So you want to pick that up. Maybe I'm going to use a slightly different style of glass here, but still very suitable. So you can see the color, and by running the whiskey around the rim, it allows you to watch how the whiskey falls down the side of the glass and
Right,
gives you a
like
sense of
legs,
how
like-
the thickness, the
Yeah.
viscosity of the whiskey, whether it's a thin, runny, or whether it's kind of thick and syrupy.
Okay. This looks like it's kind of got some pretty good legs, like,
Absolutely.
you know, yeah. So this
Yeah.
would consider to have pretty good viscosity, like
Yeah,
pretty good.
exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
So we don't want to swirl it too much. This is a mistake you often see, that people
swirling.
with they have the big brandy glass and they're just swirling around. All you're really doing there is releasing the alcohol vapors out of the whiskey. And when you take that to your nose, you're just going to get hit with a big shot of that
So don't
alcohol
do
vapor,
that.
and it's going to overpower the flavor. So
Okay.
you can gently swirl it a little
All
bit
right.
just to open it up, but
Yeah.
not too much.
Okay.
And then
So
you
adding a little bit of oxygen.
exactly aerating it just like you would with a fine wine.
Okay. We don't have any music. You said that, you know, sometimes it's good to have music when you're
I can
tasting.
sing.
There you go. Well, on
nice.
second thought, no, just kidding. Carry
So,
on. Just kidding.
What I'd like to do here is let's take it to our nose, and you
Okay.
can kind of go to just maybe one side at first, just to
But you mean only use
Open
one
up one
nostril?
nostril?
Or?
yeah, tilt it back and forth. Let all the aromas sink in there, and then just kind of consider it. See
Okay.
what sense you're getting from the nose, and
Is
then
this that three-prong thing that you had? There's three approaches?
there's a few steps to it here.
Third nostril.
So once you've had a good nose of it, you can smell that smoke probably immediately. A bit of a caramel flavor as well.
Yeah.
And go in
See,
for
I'm
it.
instinctively swirling. Bad, Georgia. Don't do that.
It's many
We'll go in
years
for a
of a
sip.
bad habit.
So,
Cheers.
Solange.
Solange?
Solange.
Solange is what they say in Scotland. It's
Solange?
the Gaelic
okay.
Solange.
expression. Just cheers.
Cheers.
To your
Okay.
health.
Cheers.
Okay,
And
cheers.
cheers to your trip to Scotland. We understand you're going shortly.
Indeed, I will be in Scotland in May to visit the Speyside Spring Whisky Festival, one of the biggest whiskey events in Scotland. It's going to be very exciting. We're going to travel to a few distilleries and get to hopefully sample some of the whiskey straight from.
So you'll be doing a
from
lot
the
of
source.
blogging, I'm sure, from there.
Absolutely. There's going to be all kinds of pictures and articles on the site about our
Awesome.
adventures on the whiskey trail in Scotland.
No, we look forward to that. No, that's nice. It's very.
Are we allowed to drink now?
I guess I jumped the gun.
Please.
I already tasted. Yeah.
So everybody is a little different in how they taste it, but you're certainly going to get that smoky, peaty flavor right
Yeah.
away.
I definitely get that peaty flavor. You know what? Especially like on the tip of my tongue for some reason.
Wow.
It's like really hanging out there. That
Absolutely.
peaty flavor.
That's delicious.
It is good though. Yeah.
You definitely know you're drinking something special.
Absolutely. There's a complexity to this that is so far beyond.
Am I
a
holding it
simple-
correctly, or should you be holding it by the bowl?
You can,
I know
you
in wine you're not
can do it
supposed to
different
do that.
ways. If I may, for a moment
Sure,
here.
yeah.
Sometimes warming the Scotch helps to improve the flavor as well, to open up the flavor. So you can just
Okay.
kind of cup it in your hand like so, and just let the warmth of your hand actually warm the Scotch.
Okay.
This is one of the reasons I don't suggest putting ice in a good Scotch. That will
Okay.
chill it down and immediately close it up, and
Right.
you'll lose a lot of the flavor.
Now, you did request that we have a little bit of water here and a straw.
I did.
So you said
because
no ice, but
There's
What's
the
the straw
traditional
in the water
approach
for?
to drinking Scotch in Scotland is to add a little bit of water, because
Okay.
just a small amount of water, a very small amount of water, can actually dramatically change the flavor of the whiskey. It opens it up. It allows you to sense and taste more flavors and aromas that might not otherwise be there. So the
Okay.
best way to do this, I like to use a little straw here, because we really don't want to drown the whiskey. We want to add just a couple of drops. So
Okay.
we're just going to carefully
two.
Okay.
add a little water here.
Yeah, that was
Now you can give
two
it-
drops.
And that makes a difference, huh?
Give it a little swirl
Wow.
and try it again. And tell me
Swirl,
if that-
okay, okay.
Swirl
Just
a little bit.
Okay, not too much. Okay.
Have some for myself as well.
Yeah.
Now you should find that it opens up the whiskey a little bit.
Yeah,
Makes the
I noticed
flavors-
the difference. They're more alive, actually, kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there's
Why
more
is
of a
that?
floral there
Why
now.
does that happen like that?
Well, there's so much flavor in the whiskey that sometimes when you're tasting it, it's too much all at once. Your mouth and your sense of smell is trying to process all of these flavors at once. So adding a little bit of water dilutes it a little bit and allows you to separate the flavors a little bit and identify it a little differently.
Okay, very nice. And how much does this cost? This Highland. This is the 12-year age. Is that
This is the 12-year-old,
Yeah,
and this
okay.
is just under $60. It's $59 and change at the LCBO typically, which makes it very affordable as far as a single malt whiskey goes.
Okay.
It's a very good value for a single malt.
Now, when you
especially
talk
12-year-old.
premium, like when people talk about like a premium Scotch whiskey, is there what dictates whether it's premium or not, and around what price point do you usually have to get into to be buying a premium Scotch?
Well, that's a relative word, of course. I mean, anything could be considered a premium. Even a whiskey like this, I would consider a premium whiskey in some sense. But certainly, age is a factor.
Okay.
Age is a prominent factor because it's something visible. When you look at the bottle, you see, oh, this one is 18 or 21 years old.
Right.
And that tends to suggest that it's better. Not always the case. One whiskey that's 12 years old could be better than one that's 15. One that's 15 could be superior to one that's 18. But
Okay.
but age is a guideline that you can use.
And does it say on the bottle whether it was malt or malted barley, or like what grain was used or anything like that?
Well,
Is
this
it
is where you
dictated
have to
on
sort
there?
of understand a bit of the terminology.
Oh,
So when you
okay.
see a whiskey that says single malt Scotch,
Yeah.
you know that it's made with only malted barley,
Which is a good thing.
which is a good thing. Most whiskey drinkers consider a single malt whiskey to be the best choice
is.
available, the best there
okay.
is.
Now, the other one that you brought is another single malt.
I did.
And what part of Scotland is this one from?
So this is a Speyside malt. So as I said, the Speyside region it's quite small. It's in the northwest part of Scotland,
Okay.
but it actually has the most distilleries of any region in Scotland. There are dozens and dozens of distilleries in this one area.
Why is that?
There's a number of reasons. It's by history and tradition. It's been a place that's been great for making whiskey. The River Spey, from which Speyside gets its name, runs through that area, and the waters of this River Spey are considered very clear and very pure, which is very important when you're running a distillery.
Okay.
If you look at any distillery, you'll see that the first and most important thing is that they're right
Good
next to
water
a source
supply.
of water, right
Okay.
beside a river.
Okay.
So let's open this up. And as you can see, just to compare the color, you'll see that
Oh yeah, big difference.
very light color. This is a very subtle, floral, aromatic Scotch.
Okay.
It has notes of grass and heather and a little bit of spice, but very subtle, very elegant, very typical of the Speyside region. Not too heavy, not heavily peated, not salty like an Islay, but a little bit more rounded and subtle with its floral notes.
Okay.
Now, this one is very interesting. It has a vintage to it.
That's right. So
What
this
is that all about?
This is a Cragganmore, which is a very well-known Speyside distillery. But this bottle actually came from Signatory Vintages. So it's an independent bottler. So an independent bottler is a group that will go to these different distilleries and try the whiskeys from the barrel and decide which ones are the best, have unique characteristics that they really like. And they'll buy the whole barrel. And they'll take it and they'll bottle it and sell it independently.
Okay.
So instead of getting a 12-year-old whiskey, you get a whiskey vintage 1997, for instance, as this
Because
one
I've
is.
never seen that before.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Some of the best whiskeys out there are often through these independent bottlers because whereas
How did you get your hands on that one?
it took some doing, let me tell you.
You have connections, I bet.
It takes some time to get a case of whiskeys like this imported. It's not simple, but it's worth the effort.
And how much does that sell for?
I don't recall, but it's
Okay.
probably around $80 or $90 for this bottle.
Okay.
Now, how many bottles of Scotch do you have at home? Now, I'm curious about that.
Probably about 10 or 12,
Okay.
all at varying levels. Some of them just have a few
You're going to be
a few drops
replenishing,
left.
I'm sure, on your trip to Scotland.
Certainly, yes.
Make sure you check his baggage.
So Suzanne, maybe why don't we blend these two? Oh,
Okay.
we're blending. Okay, so we'll blend our two Scotch, and then maybe we can.
got a couple. We can use these
Oh, you
glasses
can.
as
Okay,
well.
all right. Because then we can also. We could have compared anyways. Okay, so let's do
Don't
that.
pour so much, just a little bit. We don't
Okay.
want you to waste it.
Especially this is your special vintage.
Actually, you know
bottle,
what?
right?
We can share with sisters.
Okay,
We'll do
perfect.
that. We don't want you to waste
So
it.
when you think of that fantastic meal that we had at Colburn Lane, do you remember of the courses that we had? Is there one course in particular that like you think would go really well with this Scotch?
Well, that was a great meal, and as the chef told us, he was drawing his inspiration from Scandinavian and sort of Nordic style cooking, which is actually making a big comeback, if you will.
Yeah.
These days, it's very sort of rustic, simple, hearty food, and I thought the first course that blended the wheat berries,
yeah, the wheat berries, yes.
and
they had the ginger on
nice
it.
Yeah,
ginger
and
a goat cheese. Paired perfectly with the 12-year-old Highland Park.
Okay, yeah, that was wonderful.
So why don't you give that one a try?
You're smiling
And
again.
tell me
Oh my God!
what you
Bad
think.
wine lady.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Here, I'll try it first.
So there should be a big difference. I mean, this is like, first of all, price-wise, it's like 30% more expensive. First thing. I mean, that is not always a great indicator, but
These are very distinctively different styles of Scotch. So we have a classic Highland with its smoky, peaty flavor, and a classic Speyside with its subtle, grassy and floral aromas.
Okay.
Big finish. Wow.
Yes, long finish.
Wow.
let's try.
It just keeps on going, doesn't it?
It's like the rolling hills of Scotland. They go on and on and on. Do you see? I still have it in my throat and in my...
And that just warms everything up. Oh my God.
We need a nice fireplace to sit beside.
That's amazing. Oh, and then it just, you're right, it just stays on the tongue like it's still there.
I'll probably be here till
Wow.
8 o'clock tonight.
Holy smokes. It's not as smoky either.
Definitely
That's
not.
definitely a difference, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. I like that one. Well, I like the other one too, but I think this is more my style.
Yeah.
It seems lighter in, I mean, that sounds like an oxymoron, like it's heavier and I mean, the finish stays longer and everything, but it's lighter in a way.
Definitely.
It's like a brighter kind of Scotch, I guess.
There you go. You're
so
becoming
cool.
a whiskey expert already.
All right. I learned how to not smoke a cigar. I learned how to roll a cigar in the first segment, and now I'm becoming a whiskey aficionado.
Oh, that was neat, huh?
That was really
Very cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, excellent.
Well, Sean, thanks for coming in so much. It was
so
such
much.
a pleasure to meet you and your buddies last week.
My pleasure.
And we look forward to reading all about your adventures in Scotland in the next couple of weeks.
Great.
And I learned a lot today.
Yeah. So you know what? I learned I like Scotch. Thanks. Sure. Now there's another liqueur that I like. That was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Next week, actually, we're going to be talking to Michael Potters from Hockley Valley Resort. So that they have completely renovated that resort. They've got some fabulous new restaurants there, and the rooms are beautiful. They've got even a ski hill there.
They do a ski hill and a fantastic spa.
So we're going to be talking to those folks. So make sure you tune in next week as well. Have a great week. You've been watching The Wine Ladies on thatchannel.com. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers. How do you say it again?
Solange.
Solange.